Hey everybody, welcome back to the micro farm. Today we're going to be talking about peas. So I'm going to be throwing a lot of information at you today, kind of trying to go from start to finish on how we prepare the beds for the peas, how we grow them, any fertilizers, how you harvest, how you preserve, just everything that there is to know, everything we do with them anyway. I'm going to try to fit that all in today, so be prepared. So I grow Green Arrow. They're my favorite variety of shelling peas. Green Arrow grow about 3 foot or so, maybe 3.5. So technically they don't have to be trellised. I have a section that is not, but they do kind of fall over. I prefer to trellis mine. You can see them behind me. I've got about, I don't know, 150 or so in this bed behind me. But trellising helps to prevent powdery mildew. It keeps them up off the ground so they have better airflow, but it also makes it a lot easier to harvest them. You can see these ones right behind me that just have a ton, that they're right there in the front ready to just pick. The other bed that I have that is not trellised, they all just kind of fall over, and then you have to hold the plant up, or you have to just pull the plant out completely and harvest them, and that way you're also gonna end up losing some that we're not quite ready to pick yet. So I do prefer trellising, but it's, again, with the size, it's not required. So in North Carolina, I actually can grow 2 crops of this. I can plant some in the early spring. They do really, really well in the cold, and actually they do fine with a freeze. But you can also grow another one in the fall. A lot of people use them both. They grow abundantly, so they are definitely one of my favorite shelling peas. I highly recommend them. This bed that's behind me is a new bed that I put in this year. And so this year I did an inoculant. I don't always use that, but an inoculant puts good bacteria into the soil, and it helps them grow a little bit more, for one, but it puts the bacteria that they need to be able to actually do their job to fix nitrogen. So since I'd never grown beans or peas or anything in this bed before, I wasn't sure if it had the right bacteria or enough of it, so I did go ahead and do an inoculant this year. Again, you don't have to. I chose to do it this year. The other thing with fertilizing, this was with it being a new bed, it was well composted. I built it up over the last year, so I didn't feel like I needed to add more to it. But if you choose to fertilize, about the time that it's flowering is when you would want to use a fertilizer with phosphorus and potassium, and that will help with production. Once the plant is done, I will actually cut it off at the roots instead of just pulling it up completely. The reason I do that is because the roots will then decompose into the ground, and it'll feed the soil the nitrogen that it's been collecting. And so I leave that, but then the plant I actually compost. It's not safe to give the chickens. I give the chickens anything that I can. But all parts of the plant and the shell are actually toxic to chickens. They can eat the peas themselves, but not the plant. So just be aware of that. And then the next step would be when to know to actually pick them. So when the plant's flowering, that's when you know it's gonna start producing soon. The flowers will turn into the pods. And then initially the pods will be flat, but then they'll start to get round. So if you can see this one and see how round it's gotten, that's how you know that it's ready. And you don't have to pick them all at one time. You can pick the ones that are ready and go ahead and shell and freeze and preserve those, and then pick the next ones when they're ready. That's one of the things I love about this plant. It's also kind of a one and done plant, so that once it produces, it's not going to keep going. So once you've gotten all the peas off of it, just go ahead and pull the plant up. You're done with it. So to actually shell it, there's a trick to it. It's very easy. It's kind of tedious, takes a little time. But apparently I missed teaching my kids this. They were trying to shell some peas with me earlier, and I was laughing at them because they didn't know what they were doing at first, and I don't know how I missed teaching them. So I'm gonna show you all. So all you have to do is you kind of grab the end here, and you're gonna pull it up, and it's almost gonna come up like it's gonna unzip it basically. And then just stick your nail in, and it's just gonna pull that apart, and it's gonna open up and show all the peas, and just put those into the bowl, and that one's done. And then you just move on to the next, keep doing the same thing. And then, like I said, to preserve them, all that you're gonna do is you're gonna take this bowl that you have and you're just gonna lay them flat on a cookie sheet. Just, you know, dump it into a cookie sheet or a baking pan or just anything that's gonna let them freeze flat. It just takes about an hour or two in the freezer, and then you can dump them into a freezer bag, and then it helps them to stay loose that way, so that you can just get, you know, a scoop of them or just dump them out whenever you're ready to use them. And so the other thing that you might want to do, not everybody chooses to do this, you don't have to, but I do try to seed save whenever I can. Green Arrow, their peas are so easy, beans are easy. There's a lot of, that's my quail in the background there, but there's a lot of seeds that are really, really easy to save, and you don't have to worry about cross-pollination with them. So all that you do is I leave a section where I don't harvest the peas, and I just leave them on the plant until the plant will start to actually turn, you know, yellow and then brown. The pods will brown. And then once the pod feels like it's brown and it kind of, you can hear it rattle almost in the pod, then you can take it off of the plant once it's dried. And then you'd want to put it into a bowl or just something flat where it can dry completely and it'll harden. You want to make sure it's completely dry, because if there's even a little bit of moisture in it, that'll actually mold and it'll go bad in storage, and you don't want to do that. So let it completely harden, and then put it into an airtight container and then store it for next year. I hope that answers everybody's questions about peas and how to grow them and how to preserve them and how to save them and all that good stuff. If there's any other questions, feel free to let me know. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening.